Hey, everyone, this is Darcinovia here. This is the start of the new year, and what better way to start it than the final review of the last of the Tales of the Jedi comics. Now, up until this point, these stories have been getting better and better, and this is one thing I love about Tales of the Jedi, that a comic should get better with time. In fact, I feel like stories should improve with time if you're doing a continuous story. Now, with this comic, this is, I would view, the epilogue, and I feel like this did a great job closing Eric Quadroma's story and the character that we've been following for basically the very beginning. This is a broken man who lost everything. And I feel like this is a pretty good way to send off this character, and I was satisfied how his arc ended. And most of the story in this comic is mostly told through the visuals, because there isn't as much dialogue in this comic like there is in the others. And for some people, at least for a lot of the people I know, this comic, the art is the best, which that's debatable, but I agree to this. Now, this is the transitional period between, the 90s era and the modern era of comics. So the art style that we're seeing, this resembles more of what we would see in the 2000s to present in Star Wars. Well, if we're going by the Dark Horse era anyway. Now, I think this is probably the most appealing, but then again, I like all of the comics of Tales of the Jedi in terms of art. Um, it is nice to read about, Normie Sunrider and Eric Quadroma one last time, because this is the last time, you know, we ever see of these characters, and it's kind of a shame, to be honest, because I feel like there was more that could have been told with, her daughter, but whatever, we can't have what we want. But I feel like this was a great ending to what was a underrated comic series. I really wish, you know, these characters would have appeared again. At least, her, Normie Sunrider's daughter, Vima. But there's reasons why she didn't. It has to do with some trouble with her character's career. You have to look up behind the scenes because I can't verify it at this point in time. But anyway, Redemption, I consider this a classic. It's a really good story, and if you've read everything else that came before, I see no reason why you wouldn't read this. I think this was a great way to cap off, you know, what was, in my opinion, one of the best Star Wars stories ever told. And I think, Tales of the Jedi was an underrated, comic, because when you hear about Star Wars comics, you don't really hear about Tales of the Jedi, unfortunately. A lot of the other comics of the Dark Horse era are brought up before anyone even considers talking about Tales of the Jedi. I know these comics are extremely hard to find now, at least physical, but if you are willing to track them down or buy them on Kindle, I think they're worth your time, all of them. Don't just, read certain parts of it, read the whole thing. I think you would truly appreciate just how good these stories are. And in my opinion, one of the finest stories ever written in the Star Wars, expanded universe. In fact, the Sith War and Redemption are some of my favorite Star Wars comics ever. I think they're really good. Redemption especially. I think Redemption, does a redemption story right. Um, and I don't have much more to say, otherwise I'm going to be rambling. Now, next time I talk about Star Wars comics, I'm going to off this bad boy that I bought back in 2015 because I wanted to wait until the entire series was released in the Epic Collection. That's right, we're getting to the Old Republic comics. Yeah, baby. So expect a lot of reviews of these in the upcoming months. And 2020 is going to be the year of Star Wars comics on my channel. Looking forward to it, guys. See you guys next time. And may the Force be with you, always.